Any list of books is obviously highly subjective. However, these 5 books that I'm going to introduce you to have made a huge difference in my own life and in the lives of my clients. Hi, I'm Katja Cahoon. I'm a psychotherapist and yoga teacher, and today I want to introduce you to 5 books that can really change your life. And I'll offer 3 bonus books at the end for specific conditions, including trauma, ADHD, and bipolar disorder. The first one I want to introduce you to is Full Catastrophe Living. First of all, isn't that the greatest title ever? I mean, it kind of says it all. This is a very thick book, as you can see, and it's really a book that in a very systematic way and a very evidence-based and well-researched way introduces you to mindfulness, in particular a specific approach to mindfulness called mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. And I think stress reduction is something we all need in our lives today. And what's great about this is it introduces you, and then it talks about different areas of stress, such as pain, chronic pain, or difficulties in relationships, or difficulties with emotions. So kind of any area that's challenging for people gets a chapter, gets strategies, and gets information. Second book I want to introduce you is Radical Compassion by Brach. Also a mindfulness-based book, and you'll see a theme because I really believe in mindfulness as a skill, a tool, a way of life to deal with what comes our way. And I think when we look at the world today, we all need more compassion, and the world needs more compassion, and that starts with self-compassion. And that's really what that book is about. It introduces a very simple, not necessarily easy, but simple way to self-compassion. Very actionable. The process that Brach uses, RAIN, is really something you can use in any situation in life, whether it's with a difficult coworker or family member or just a difficult emotion or situation. Next book, You Belong. Beautiful book, and I love the description of the author, nerdy black immigrant tomboy Buddhist weirdo. Very compelling. And this book is really for anybody who has felt that they don't belong, whether that's for skin color or gender or sexual orientation, because of imposter syndrome or any of the other reasons we can feel like we don't belong. It's a beautiful approach to that. It's sort of a little bit tough-loving and very genuine, and again, very actionable, which is what I love about all the books I've introduced so far. And no surprise, it also uses mindfulness as an approach to creating a greater sense of belonging and dealing with feelings of not belonging, whatever the reasons might be. Next book, Daring Greatly by Brene. Probably the best book about shame, courage, and vulnerability, something we're all grappling with. And she not just outlines the research, but also, again, actionable steps of how to implement that in your life and have appropriate vulnerability. And if you're a leader or a manager, or really any professional, daring to lead is also a great book. Last but not least, one of my absolute favorite books. It's an oldie, Man's Search for Meaning. This book is life-changing. It's written by a Holocaust survivor who spent time not just in one concentration camp, but 3 concentration camps. It's a little bit of a tough read initially because he outlines his experiences, but these experiences are important to understand because based on his time in the concentration camps, he developed really his approach to life and how to create meaning and the ultimate freedom, which is freedom over our thoughts and how we perceive a situation. And that's really incredible. If you think about a concentration camp, it's probably the ultimate out of control experience. Everything is taken away, and this is how he describes it, except one's mind and the freedom in your mind. Beautiful reminder and really compelling. He also talks about how to create meaning in life and sort of as an antidote to this relentless pursuit of happiness that often leads to hedonism and perhaps to greater unhappiness in people's lives. Thank you so much for listening. And I have 3 bonus books if you're interested. These are conditions that are difficult for people to deal with, that we all sort of benefit from having a better understanding about, whether it's a family member that suffers from that, or a co-worker, or just anyone you encounter. So these 3 conditions are ADHD, trauma, and mood disorders, especially bipolar. So my first book, The Body Keeps the Score, is really one of the best books on trauma written. It really explains trauma and PTSD so well. And if we consider how many people experience trauma, from sexual trauma to racial trauma to accidents and of course combat trauma, it's a really important area to understand. Again, also very actionable. There's a lot of information, especially to the back of the book, of approaches, treatments, evidence-based practices. ADHD, Driven to Distraction, written by a psychiatrist who also suffers from ADHD. So amazing. It's actually a very engaging read, and it really explains ADHD and also offers very specific actionable things that you can do, how to approach it, how to work with it in therapy or other treatment. It's also a great book if a family member or a partner, even a coworker, has ADHD, because very often some of the symptoms of ADHD can feel very personal, like the person doesn't care. And this book really deals with that and helps a family member, coworker, friend to understand that better. And lastly, bipolar, not so much. So this book also talks a little bit about unipolar depression, so where there's just depression, but focuses a little bit more on bipolar, where you have that switch between depression and then mania or hypomania. So hypomania is a milder form of mania. And bipolar disorder, again, can be very hard to understand. It can be very confusing. It can be really challenging to be in a relationship with a person like that, or have a family member, perhaps a coworker or boss as well. And this really explains it very well, what's happening on all levels, and also offers one of the best or most well-researched lists of medications, supplements for all the things that can come with bipolar disorder. So irritability, insomnia, distractibility, and so on. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. If you have any great suggestions or a book that has really helped you or changed your life, please let me know in the comments, and please subscribe.